Whispers in the dark. It started as a whisper, soft, indistinct, like the wind rustling through the leaves. Lydia, an otherwise normal 12-year-old girl, sat in her room one evening, staring at the old ornate mirror hanging on her wall. It had been a gift from her grandmother, passed down through generations, but it always gave her an uneasy feeling. The frame was intricately carved with swirling, almost menacing designs. But what truly unsettled her was how sometimes, just out of the corner of her eye, she swore she could see shadows move inside it. One night, after her parents had gone to bed, the whispers grew louder. It wasn't the wind anymore. Lydia was sure of it. She sat up in bed, heart pounding, her eyes drawn to the mirror. The shadows within it twisted, forming shapes that resembled human figures, but were too dark, too sinister to be real. She pulled the covers up to her chin, trembling as the whispers became voices, soft and seductive, calling her name. Lydia. She felt a coldness creep into the room, wrapping around her like icy fingers. The voice grew louder, more demanding. It beckoned her closer to the mirror. Against her will, Lydia swung her legs over the edge of her bed and slowly approached. The voice, deep and hypnotic, seemed to speak directly into her thoughts. Let us in, Lydia. We can give you anything. Power, knowledge, freedom. Her reflection began to change. Her eyes, wide with fear, turned dark, like endless voids, and her mouth twisted into a cruel smile that didn't belong to her. It wasn't her reflection anymore. It was something else, watching her, waiting for her to give in. Just say the words, child, the voice cooed. Let us in. Lydia's mind screamed to pull away, to run, but her body was no longer her own. Her hand reached out, trembling, and touched the glass. It was freezing, and yet a surge of energy jolted through her like electricity. She felt the darkness slide into her, seeping into every corner of her mind, twisting her thoughts. She tried to resist, but it was too late. The shadows had found their way in. Her mind was no longer her own. It was shared with them now, the dark force that had been trapped for centuries within the mirror. The next morning, her parents noticed the change. Lydia was quieter, her eyes dull and distant, yet somehow unnervingly sharp when they fixed on you. She spoke in soft tones with an unsettling calm. At night, the whispers continued, but now they came from Lydia's room. Low murmurs that made her parents uneasy. They couldn't understand the language, but the sinister tone sent chills down their spines. Soon after, strange things began to happen. Objects would move on their own. Lights flickered and shadows danced where there shouldn't be any. Lydia, once sweet and shy, now smiled a cruel, knowing smile. Her voice seemed to echo with something not her own when she spoke, as if there were two people inside her. Her parents grew terrified, but it was too late. The Lydia they knew was gone, her mind consumed by the dark force that had waited for centuries. It used her now, a puppet to spread its influence. The whispers, once confined to her room, now echoed throughout the house. And at night, when her parents would dare to look into the mirror, they swore they could see figures watching them, waiting for their turn to be invited in.